Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Outdoor Sports Club channel. I'm Jake, and I've got another thought video for you. And I don't know if anybody likes these thought videos or not, but I kind of enjoy doing them. And this one, I want to talk about sayings that are complete balderdash. They're complete nonsense. And I think everybody's heard the saying, carpe diem, seize the day. Now that one's not complete balderdash. It's kind of... there's some nuances to why I think it's kind of absurd and why I wish people would stop using it. But that's kind of what I'm talking about. Just sayings that are meant well. I've never heard them used in ways that I would consider malicious or anything other than encouraging. But they don't make a lot of sense to me. So the two I want to talk about today are there's two. They're very related, and there's many versions of them. But number one is you can be anything you want to be, and the other is you can do anything you put your mind to. So those are complete nonsense. Now again, people mean well when they say them, and they're trying to be encouraging and uplifting and trying to motivate people to do their best and work hard at things, but they're nonsense sayings. So first of all, you can be anything you want to be. Literally, you can't. Okay, there are a seemingly infinite number of things that you can try to be, right? So there is a subset of the things that you can attempt to be that are illegal or immoral, so you shouldn't do them. If we don't count any of that, we're not even talking about that, there's a subset of what's left that you will never accomplish it no matter how hard you try. Now, I'm not even going to get into the social justice warrior type stuff because that's kind of a different situation, and I know I'm already going to be making people mad when I do this video. So you know what I'm talking about. There's certain things you just can't be no matter how hard you try. But if we're talking about like success at things, occupations and stuff like that, there's certain things that I don't have the natural ability to do. It's just a simple fact. It doesn't matter how hard I try. It doesn't matter how hard I want to do them. I simply can't. I can have some measure of success, but it's going to be very, very low compared to what I want to be. And I feel like my shirt's all messed up in this video. Anyway, for instance, I can't have fashion sense. It's just not going to happen. No, on a serious note, one thing I want to talk about is like I'm going to use Michael Phelps as an example. Olympic swimmer, arguably the best swimmer ever. I was talking to a guy, and he was at work, and he was reading something where it was an article about how Michael Phelps had a body built for swimming. So tall, very long torso in proportion to the rest of his body, kind of a different proportion of torso to body compared to normal men, and supposedly that's scientifically better for swimming. So Michael Phelps had a natural talent for swimming. He worked very, very hard at becoming the best swimmer in the world, but he also had a body that was naturally built to be better swimming. Consequently, I used to work with a guy who I'm still friends with who swam in high school, and apparently he was pretty good. He didn't pursue it, so I don't remember if he told me if he swam in college or not, but anyway, he's got the same body type. He's taller than me, but he's got like a really long torso. Like I think his waist is even with my waist, or maybe even a little bit lower, but he's taller than me. And I remember him telling me that he was good at swimming, that he did pretty well in high school at swimming, and I was like, really? But when I look at Michael Phelps, it kind of makes sense. So the point there is that people are built for different things. People have different talents. The beautiful thing is that when we start pursuing hobbies and careers and things like that, a lot of times we sort of fall into paths that we're decent at. It doesn't mean we're great at them, and it may not even be the thing that we're supposed to do, but life has a way of sort of naturally weeding out people that either aren't good at something or don't want to put the work in to do it. Which kind of brings me to the next one, and that is you can do anything you put your mind to. You can't. Now, in theory you can, and the intention is to say, like, work hard at stuff and you will succeed, but that's not true. There are certain goals that people set that they'll never reach. They run out of time. You know, so given an infinite amount of time, I suppose that you could do anything that you put your mind to, but that's not the way life works. So I've failed at far more things than I've succeeded at. Now, I'm probably, as far as moderately successful people go, or maybe mildly successful people go. I'm probably an exception to the rule, where like I fail at a lot of stuff more so than most successful people do. But I consider myself successful, and I've failed at far more goals than I've succeeded at. I remember I was in 4-H when I was growing up. I was pretty active in 4-H. I was a state officer and what they call a state 4-H ambassador. And the two biggest goals that I had in 4-H, I failed at them, and there was no chance to do them again. I had one shot at, well, I had two shots at one of them. I had one shot at the other. I failed at both of them. There was no going back. There was no, and I worked hard at them. They were the things that I tried to accomplish the most when I was growing up, in high school, and I failed at them. There were some high school goals that I had that I failed at, and I worked really hard to try to accomplish those goals. There's no going back to some of that stuff. There are things you may want to accomplish in college. When you're out of college, you can't go back. You're going to fail at that stuff. So I would, and I know, like, sayings, you can't explain all of this stuff in a saying. So when you're trying to have a small, like, 6-word, 3, 6-word, 8-word, whatever saying to motivate people or help them, feel encouraged or lifted up, you can't explain all this stuff. But I'm kind of tired of seeing Facebook posts where people are saying all this stuff and then not doing anything with their lives. They're, saying carpe diem, but they're spending all their time on Facebook, all their free time on Facebook. And I'm guilty as well. I spend way too much time doing nonsensical stuff and less time than I should out here or at the gun range or with my kids or, reading books or, whatever the case is, reading the Bible, whatever it is that is going to improve your life, do that instead. Instead of saying carpe diem on Facebook, go do that. So the last thing on this particular subject, I remember I asked my daughter, this was like 2 years ago, I think. She was about 9. And I don't know what got me on the subject, but I asked her if anybody ever told her that she can do anything a man can do. And she said, yeah, I've heard that before. And I said, you can't. And my wife kind of looked at me like, what are you doing? And I said, you can't. And men can't do everything you can do. Some things, yes, there's crossover. There's women who are really good at things that men are typically good at. There are men who are really good at things that women are typically good at. But they're just things that each individual is built for. And as a general rule, guys are built for certain things and girls are built for certain things. That's not a sexist thing. That's not a battle of the sexist thing. We're just good at different stuff. So that's self-evident. It's obvious if you look around the world. It's demonstrable and very, very obvious. So that got us started on it, and I followed it up with, has anybody ever told you that you can do anything you put your mind to? And she said, yeah. And I said, you can't. And she looked at me like, what? I'm a failure? That's the look on her face. And of course, my wife is over there again going like, what are you doing? Shut up. And then I explained it. I said, you're going to fail at stuff. I don't want you to not try because you're afraid of failure. But I also don't want you to have in your mind that, like, if I put in effort, I'm going to automatically succeed, because you're not. You should put in the effort. You should try to succeed. And if you fail, you should try again, at least until the point where it's no longer sustainable or where it becomes obvious that you can't succeed. And the truth is, humans give up on their goals way too frequently. I do. Most of the people I know do. We all have big goals. We all work really hard, and then we kind of give up on them. It's not that hard work isn't rewarded. Hard work and good decision making are the two things that are going to carry you further in life than anything else, I think. So I'm certainly not trying to say, like, don't work hard because you're not going to achieve your goals. No, I'm saying work hard, attempt to achieve your goals, but just be ready for failure. And because what happens if you tell a young kid over and over and over again, you can do anything you put your mind to? Well, they go out and they work as hard as they know how to work, which for most kids isn't much, especially this day and age. They don't know necessarily how much work it's going to take. They've just got these lofty goals. My son wants to be in the NBA, or at least he used to. Yeah, that's a pretty lofty goal, right? So they put in what work they know how to do, and then when they fail, they're like, I guess I just suck. I'm not going to do it anymore. I don't want that to happen. So one of the ways that you can, I think, keep that from happening is allow your children to understand earlier in life that they are going to fail. They need to work hard at things, but they are going to fail. And when they fail, they need to try to make the decision, is this worth still pursuing? Is this worth working harder? Because the more you know about something, there's like a curve, and the more you know about something, the like more you have to work. If the X value is work done and the Y value is how much you're learning, it kind of goes up at first. It may even like kind of swoop up, I don't know. But at a point it starts to plateau off, and you start having to work harder and harder and harder to learn smaller and smaller amounts of stuff. And depending on what it is, you may even hit a point where you start to escalate your learning again. That may go through several iterations like that. But most people start hitting that plateau and they go, this isn't worth it. Most people, including me. So when they hit that spot and they start feeling like they're failing, they've got to make the decision. And the point of this video is to say, it's not that simple. You can't do anything you want to do. Just because you put your mind to something and work hard at it doesn't mean you're going to succeed, and you've got to be ready for that stuff. So a couple weeks after I had that conversation with my daughter, a member of the family was talking to her, and he said, you know, you can do anything you put your mind to. And this dude's a great dude, and he meant super well. I didn't say anything, but she kind of looked up at me and she sort of smiled. And then later we were talking, and she brought it up, and we talked about it, and we kind of laughed. And it seems like she's understanding it. She's getting it. It's not really absorbing yet into her psyche or into her personality, but it's not into mine either. Like, I keep failing at that every single day, and I put in a little bit of work into a YouTube channel, or I put a little bit of work into something in my career or into some hobby that I'm doing, and it all falls apart, or it doesn't grow the way that I want it to, and I kind of go, you know, what's the point? So I have trouble absorbing that as well. Anyway, I hope you guys don't mind the thought videos. That may be another failure, but it just seems like this is something that seems obvious, and it seems very, very self-evident, but I don't really see people reacting in the way that I do when something becomes self-evident. So I don't know. Those are my thoughts and opinions, and maybe they'll help somebody. Maybe they'll help somebody think in a different way and not be afraid of failure, and not hard work either, but just understand the reality of the fact that we've got to work hard and we've got to make good decisions, but we're going to hit failure after failure anyway, and we've just got to power through those. So with that being said, thanks for watching, guys.